have a master's degree in transport planning. And from that, my first job was in local authority, Kent County Council, where I worked on a whole host of highway schemes, mainly, that were being constructed in the county at the time. I followed that by a period with London Transport, as was then, and within their transport planning division at LT. And then when the Strategic Rail Authority was being formed in the late 1990s, actually 1999, I moved across to work for the SRA, and then when the SRA was disbanded, into the DFT. So transport runs through my career, it's a theme all the way through from start to end. I've been very lucky in the fact that I've worked on, and what you do get out in the department is work on a range of big transport infrastructure projects. In recent years, well, a large part of my career, I suppose, it has been a railway side to it. So since I joined the SRA, it has been mainly focused on rail. In that time at the SRA, I've done, in the department, sorry, I've done strategy, I've worked on franchise replacements, I've worked on a number of big major infrastructure projects as well. So Crossrail, I've been in the Crossrail team, the Thameslink programme, the replacement of the Intercity Express programme on the East Coast and West Coast, on Great Western routes. So yeah, so that's my career. How did I get to become a director? I still think it's a bit of, you're in the right place at the right time. My former boss, Becky Wood, left the department to move to Australia. I was asked to step into the role temporarily, and then when it was advertised formally, I got the role full time. And I'm very lucky to work on such big transformational projects, even if they don't always go to plan. I think there's two things for me, I would say is, and I've been a director in the department now for 6 years, I still occasionally look around me and think, how on earth did I get this job? I get that kind of imposter syndrome. I think an awful lot of people do get it. I'm not perhaps naturally one of the most kind of confident, leading from the front kind of person. So that's something I have to compensate for. I'm quite, if I'm honest, I'm quite shy sometimes. And I need to force myself to kind of lead things, or actually be the welcoming person when you get into a meeting to see people. I think what you need to do in some of that space is to know that's your weakness and what you're worried about, and then you compensate for it in the actions that you do. It's just to recognise sometimes you've got that issue and you just need to overcome. There's been lots of times on projects that I've worked on that haven't gone very well or have had big issues with them. Sometimes you can take those quite personally. So when projects go wrong and you're the SRO for it or whatever, you can take that quite personally. Sometimes, there's an awful lot of looking in the mirror and, could I have done anything about that? Most of the time you find perhaps you could have done, but most of the time you can't. Most of the time it's part of a bigger program, and there's kind of separating out what you did and what the system did as well. So you can take a lot of when things go wrong, you can take quite harshly. I absolutely get we haven't got enough people at the senior scales within science and engineering. More generally, we need to get more women into those roles, but that means getting more women into all science and engineering, in my view. So you have to get them to the top as well. It's something that we should be encouraging, and I know the department and other organisations are doing an awful lot in this area, but we've got to get more women into these roles and into the sector. You can have it as a very narrow description, which is kind of about the BAME community, for example. I think it's far more about that. It's about the workplace reflecting society more generally. So I think that's to do with disability, actually making sure we've got, I can't remember what it is, the 15% of the population, I think, have some form of disability. Actually making sure that is represented within the workplace, and actually giving disabled people access to all the same things that able people have, and have all the same ability to work in those roles. It covers the D&I space, as well, it covers a whole host of things, and it's about making what we do and our workplaces reflect society around it. We can all look at the rail industry and see we need to be more diverse. We have a sector that's kind of aging and is quite male. Actually, we need to do better at getting a broader spectrum of the population to work within the industry to better reflect society that it serves. I don't know what policies they're going to have in place to make that happen, and it will probably be a bit of a journey, and to use that awful term, to improve the situation. But I have seen, for example, a lot of the train operators, for example, have been actually, actively doing and actually promoting kind of a train driver recruitment for women, which I think is a fantastic thing to do. And some of the colleagues on South Eastern were doing that a couple of years back, and I know others have as well. But that's the kind of initiative that starts the ball rolling. That's nowhere near going to end it. There needs to be far more across the board, in my view. In my organisation, definitely so. I'm sure there are pockets where it could be better, or that it's not respected as much as it should be, but it's not something that I come across. So I think it's a bit about history. So, it was always considered a male profession when we had steam engines, and it was more probably back-breaking work. Women could have done it, but it was always meant to be seen as a male role when we had steam. I think sometimes there's a historical legacy of that. I sometimes think there's also issues to do with potentially around the way jobs are structured. That doesn't mean women can't do it, but kind of it impacts upon other parts of their lives. If they have children, joint caring of children, for example, it makes it quite difficult if you've got very odd shift patterns, for example. It can be done, but it's thinking about what would make a role more attractive for that group in society, and how do we get more of them into it. I suppose one thing the pandemic has demonstrated, and it has at the department, we can, and we did transition across to it, to work from home really quite effectively, and really quite well, which removes some barriers to other people being able to take forward some roles, I suspect. Now, personally, I don't want to work at home all the time, but it does mean that if you do need to be working at home, we can do it. So that will probably mean perhaps some roles become more attractive than they would otherwise be, but I don't think those should be a barrier anyway. I think if you have a calling, a passion for kind of engineering kind of type work, believe in yourself, go for it. I'm sure you'll get knockbacks along the way, but that's life. Don't let naysayers put you down, and take the opportunities as they arise. So for me, in my career, it's been taking the opportunities that have arisen. Sometimes those are made opportunities and you find them out for yourself. Sometimes you've just been there in the right role, seen the right job advert, applied for it, and got a good job. But keep going, because we need a better mix within the rail industry.